Square footage is a term used in real estate and construction to describe the size of a building. Specifically, it refers to the total floor area of a building, measured within the exterior walls. This measurement is used for various purposes, including property valuation, determining building costs, and complying with zoning regulations. A temporary power pole, on the other hand, is a temporary structure erected to provide electrical power to a construction site or other temporary location. It is not a permanent part of the building and is not included in the square footage calculation. To elaborate, square footage calculations typically adhere to specific guidelines to ensure consistency and accuracy. Firstly, the area included is limited to the livable or usable space within the structure. Secondly, exterior walls define the boundaries. Thirdly, the measurement is typically based on the outer dimensions of these walls. Fourthly, areas like unfinished basements or attics may or may not be included depending on local regulations and the extent to which they are finished and habitable. Now, considering the nature of a temporary power pole, firstly, it is located outside the building's exterior walls. Secondly, it serves a temporary purpose during construction or for specific events. Thirdly, it is not considered part of the livable or usable space of the building. Fourthly, including it in the square footage would misrepresent the actual size of the building. Therefore, it is standard practice to exclude temporary power poles from square footage calculations. Let's consider some examples. A single-family home of 2,000 square feet. The 2,000 square feet represents the total area of the living spaces within the house, excluding the walls themselves, porches, patios, garages, and any temporary structures like a power pole supplying electricity during construction. Similarly, a commercial building with 10,000 square feet, the 10,000 square feet refers to the usable floor area within the building, excluding external elements. Understanding what constitutes square footage and what does not is important for both buyers and sellers in real estate transactions. It ensures transparency and avoids misunderstandings about the size and value of the property. Firstly, buyers rely on square footage to assess if a property meets their needs for living space or business operations. Secondly, sellers use square footage to accurately represent their property's size and determine a fair market value. Thirdly, inaccuracies in square footage can lead to legal disputes or financial losses for either party. Temporary structures are not the only elements excluded from square footage calculations. Other common exclusions include garages, carports, porches, patios, decks, and unfinished basements or attics. Firstly, these areas are either not enclosed within the main building structure or are not considered habitable living space. Secondly, local building codes and real estate practices provide guidelines on which areas should be included or excluded when calculating square footage. To illustrate further, a garage attached to a house is not usually included in the square footage because it is primarily used for parking vehicles and storage, not as living space. Similarly, a porch or patio is an outdoor area that is not enclosed within the building's walls. An unfinished basement, even though it is located within the building's foundation, may not be included if it lacks essential features such as proper flooring, heating, and finishing to make it habitable. Square footage can be calculated using various methods. The most common is to measure the exterior dimensions of the building and then calculate the area using simple geometric formulas. For a rectangular building, the area is calculated by multiplying the length by the width. For more complex shapes, the building may be divided into smaller rectangular sections and the areas of each section are added together to obtain the total square footage. Firstly, professional appraisers and architects use specialized tools and techniques to ensure accurate measurements. Secondly, laser measuring devices and computer-aided design software can provide precise dimensions and area calculations. Thirdly, it is important to follow a consistent method and use reliable sources for measurements to avoid errors. In summary, a temporary power pole is not included in the square footage of a house or building because it is an external, temporary structure that does not contribute to the livable or usable floor area within the building's exterior walls. Square footage calculations focus on the enclosed, habitable spaces within the building, excluding external structures in non-habitable areas. Adhering to these standards ensures accurate property representation and fair real estate transactions.